Welcome into KSL Sports Rewind. Dusty Lister and Dane Stewart is always presented by Heidemann and Associates.
Oh, Dusty. It's our last reminder of football season,
make me cry.
right?
Don't make me cry.
If you have any legal needs, look, well, we're not going to go down that path. But if you have any legal needs, you want to get things set up for posterity, or maybe things are changing inside the family, business, whatever's going on, no one better positioned to take care of you. And look, some people may feel like, oh man, we were that close. There's no one better to listen to you either in terms of how close you were than Justin Heidemann and Associates. For a free consultation, you just have to tell them that Rewind sent you when you call 801-754-4240.
Absolutely. And as always, we're brought to you by Western Governors University. Go to wgu.edu to learn how to get a one-year MBA. Be like Dane, get an MBA. Be like Jeff Hansen and go to Western Governors University. Again, that's wgu.edu for a one-year MBA. Well, we're wrapping up, as I always call it, the funnest, saddest day of the year. Football season has come to an end. We're thawing out after our time at Icicle Stadium. First of all, thank you for all the support.
Yeah.
Our pregame show, halftime show, and everything with Jeff and Brian. It's just good that, the original two once in a while, we got to still put our videos together.
Yeah. Hey,
two new brothers.
What a couple of weeks, right?
Yeah.
Love what they brought to us. Love the support and the interaction we had from fans. I hope that you appreciated and enjoyed those. They'll be posted. But, a sign of good things to come, too.
Yeah, absolutely. We just try to get better and better than we do. But let's first talk about the 6A championship game. First of all, congratulations to Skyridge.
Yeah.
And I hadn't gone through to make sure of this, and I'm not in the I think it's the first, I'm going to say major sports on the boys' side, but football, baseball, basketball for the Skyridge Falcons, and that's coming home.
Yeah, I want to say they have like a girls' volleyball. I think they have...
The women's tennis won this year.
Okay,
yeah,
they've got a couple. But in terms of major boys' sports, you're right. This is the first major one, and a sport that's been right there and just hasn't been able to get it. And this year, they did. They did.
They got the win over Corner Canyon, and Dane got them in the pregame picks. Congratulations. We split. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. But you talk about this Skyridge team, and it doesn't seem that long ago, but it was back at the beginning of August. We had them number one overall in our rankings because we knew and felt that this is a team not only could compete, but was the favorite to win the state championship.
Yeah, I think that we expected the defense was going to be really good. I don't know if we expected it to be as good as it was. Right? You're talking one of the all-time great 6A defenses. We'll talk about that more. And then you talk about the offense, and obviously when you lose a guy like McKay Hillstead, it's like, oh, well, now what, right? Yeah. And even you welcome in a guy like La Kalama, and it's first year in an offense, it's first year with an established QB. How well is that going to mesh? There was plenty for them to work through. New OC coming in and Coach Hem. There's so many changes. And then you have those expectations on a program that's never reached the pinnacle before. And they were able to work through all of that. And just such an impressive job by the staff. Obviously they stubbed their toe against Corner Canyon in the regular season. A game they had a lead, they give it up. But to me, that really helps set the base for them to make that run. It's hard for teams to go undefeated and to finish the job in an undefeated campaign. And I don't know if that was the reason why they got corner the second time. Right. Probably didn't help or didn't hurt, right? Give them a little extra motivation. But man, what a great job by Coach Lehman and Hem and staff. I know there's some other newcomers on that staff this year, but man, keeping the team focused and helping them work through adversity and get back to Rice Cycles and get back to a state championship game and to finish it.
But no, that we talked about it. If you haven't seen the interviews in post game, Coach John Lehman, I asked him about that, about losing Hillstead in the beginning of the year, and I will say this: you never want to lose your best player.
Yeah.
But I think there's a blessing in disguise to this thing, that this team got to find out how good they were when McKay went down, because the way the season started and the way McKay was going, he's runaway Mr. Rewind, the way the season begins. And when he goes down, Skyridge learned, I think, more about them because they didn't have him than they would had learned about themselves if he never got hurt.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is that it is it's a team sport.
Yeah.
Right? And even though Hillstead comes back in the playoffs, there are games where it's like, hey, we need Walker. Right? And we need other guys to step up, and it can't just be the McKay show. And yeah, look, McKay, when he came back, he had fantastic ball games. And he played stellar.
That first touchdown
coming back
pass.
from injury.
Yeah.
Right? That one of the best throws we saw all playoff, right? That was impressive.
It's a layered throw on the money.
Between three defenders.
They just laid it in.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, he played spectacular, but look, it required a group effort, and it required that defense to really hone in. We saw them ball out, required the running game to get going. And I'll continue to mention, I know Trent Call didn't play in the semis or championship. He is as much responsible for this group getting the job done, keeping them winning, having a favorable seed, even though it's a 2 seed, but having a favorable seed in this tournament, getting a first round bye. Look, I mean, we didn't see him at Rice Eccles, get in the game. But Trent Call had a huge impact, and Skyridge would not have had the year they did without him coming in and stepping up, even with a recharacterization of the offense to help him be successful.
And there's so many other guys, Westover moving from outside to inside. We talked about it in that pregame show last week. There's so many different pieces to this Skyridge story. Let's just put a little pause on Skyridge. Corner Canyon, back-to-back years they lose the state championship. I think some people will say, well, the lusters were wearing off. I'm sorry. 5 straight trips to the state championship game.
It's going to take a lot more than this for the luster to wear off for Dusty. It just is.
But it shouldn't for anybody. I'm sorry, man. Well, I mean, I'm sorry. It doesn't change. This is a very good program, and it continues to be. It'll continue to be the standard bearer for the state.
And let me add this. I told this to someone after the game, and I could be wrong. This is just my opinion. There's probably not a team that changed more from week 1 to the end of the year than Corner Canyon.
Yeah.
Where they were week 1 and 2, it's like, ooh, it might be a long year for Corner Canyon. And they get back to a state championship game. And really, you can make the argument they're inside the 10 twice. And come away with no points. Like, they're there. The difference is Skyridge finished drives that Corner did not, right? But they are right there with opportunities.
They finished 2 more drives that Corner did not.
And Corner was knocking on the door, right? So that being said, look, heck of a job by that staff as well. There's a lot of youth there. They're going to return a lot of guys. But to your point, look, you don't win every year. It's not a video game, right? It's not your fantasy football team. It's real football. And go look at any level. You don't win championships every year. It's hard. It's hard.
Really hard. It's really, really hard. And that was really I just want to give him their attaboy because I thought Isaac Wilson showed that kid's a warrior, right? He's got room to grow, but that kid gave it. There wasn't much more for him to give. We gave all the accolades to some other guys in our post-game show. Isaac Wilson did that same thing.
We said it in our post-game show. When you look at the final stats of the 6A state championship game, he was responsible for every yard except for 40 of them.
Right.
That's ridiculous.
The Drew Patterson rushing yards.
The Drew Patterson, that was it, right? He ran for over 100 yards. And the thing that I love about it, and we talked about it in the pregame show, his responsiveness. I would think, I haven't talked to Isaac, I would think he would say the semifinals probably his worst varsity start. And the bounce back that he had, when it was, hey guys, I'm putting you on my shoulders. And I know they scored 7 points. There was a tweet that went out, I think, and it's true. It's the fewest points that Care offense has scored. That's how good the Skyridge defense is, by the way. But that being said, it was
that was Isaac, historical numbers.
Yeah, it was Isaac putting this team on his back and being like, guys, we're gonna have a chance, right? We're gonna go and compete. And I was really impressed with him, and you could tell the difference that made when Take Care went out of the game. That was the differentiating factor. I don't know if Corner wins it, but that the offense changed drastically, and there just was not enough for them to be able to crawl back against that type of a defense and get a win.
Okay, one last thing. Let's go back into the Skyridge stuff again. Congratulations, Coach Kerr, and his team. Terrific year, and a lot of juniors. They're going to be back next year on that squad. Now, back to the state champion Skyridge Falcons. Look, we're looking at a situation, we talked about this before, and I saw this at their I wouldn't say pep rally, but it was all the fall sports, right? The whole thing. When they brought up Taslidi Kana and they brought up Snowden, both of which are playing in All-American games. I don't know that we have another time in the state of Utah that 2 players, and I'm sure somebody can hit me up and let me know, they had 2 players on the same side of the ball both going to All-American games. And but Smith Snowden is going to the U.S. All-American game, Kana going to the Under Armour Bowl. Congratulations. But Smith Snowden, let's talk about those 2, because Tausidi Kana was an absolute menace, and when Take Care went out, it meant that Corner lost 2 receivers because Smith Snowden absolutely erased his man.
Look, and you look at Smith Snowden, and statistically, it's a nice year, but statistically, I don't think he led the Skyridge defense in any statistical category. But that being said, it's because he was so good that they didn't attack him.
You only got to play in a tenth of the plays.
Right? And because of that, it allowed guys like Colin Sheffield and Higbee to go and dominate as well, because you could not attack a third of the field because that's where Smith Snowden was. I don't know that we've seen a corner as dominant as Smith Snowden.
Maybe ever.
Yeah, I was going to say, give me a name.
Yeah.
Or I can't think of one.
Not a corner.
Not a corner.
And here's the thing, the play that'll always remind me of what Smith Snowden was against Lone Peak, when the touchdown gets thrown over the top of him, and then the next comes right back on the kickoff, and Moose Bingham goes, three's back there. Don't kick it to him. He'll return it for a touchdown. And he does. And it changed that game 30-10. They win 31-30. That's who Smith Snowden is. Let me know what I have to do, and I'll go do it. End of the half, I'll play receiver. Here we go. And he goes out and does it. Essentially goes and plays linebacker on 2 big plays, gets the 4th down stop on Isaac Wilson, a couple other plays. Loved what he brought. Tausidi Akana. Look, this kid got all the pub. He was the number 1 recruit in the state of Utah. Whatever else goes on, in this championship game, he made his presence known. Yeah,
he did. He had multiple TFLs in this game. I think he had a couple sacks. I mean, he balled out, right? And in championship games, you expect your best players to come and play their best games. And I think for Skyridge, they did that. Nobody was off, right?
Yeah.
And that makes the difference. And it's why, his offense only scored 7. We talked about that. That's the reason why, is because that defense played as a unit, and their big-time names had big-time games. And when you do that, you're going to win a lot of ball games. And look, they did it at the right time. And just going back to that, this Skyridge program has typically been a program that in big moments, they've not been able to get over that step, right? We can go back the last couple of years, and you can make arguments that they weren't better than Lone Peak, and yet Lone Peak gets them in the playoffs.
Right.
They just haven't been able to put it together in big-time games, and this year they did. And it's a special group for Coach Lehman and that locker room, that this group was finally the one able to do it for that first time.
Yeah, with the Bicycles all 3 years, and they get the state championship. And Coach Lehman, in his last game, the only coach that place has ever known as head coach is Skyridge. Now going to be in administration, which means he gets to be in charge of all kinds of assemblies and stuff, as he told me. Much more than that. But Coach, it's been an absolute blast. I mean, we're not saying goodbye to him because they're part of the Rewind Sports Network, and Coach Lehman's a great reason why that's happened. But Coach Ham, I told him when I saw him after the game, I said, quite the standard you got to live up to now. He goes, absolutely. So, Coach Justin Ham will be the head coach going forward, but congratulations to the Skyridge Falcons, the 2022 6A state champions in football. All right, let's go to our 5A game, and this is brought to you by Western Governors University. Again, go to wgu.edu to learn more about getting a 1-year MBA. It's just fitting that the football season comes to an end, and it was the most nerve-wracking game of the year.
Yeah.
3 overtimes for Lehigh to become back-to-back state champs.
Pretty remarkable. And, it's so interesting because, even looking back on it, it's like, I don't quite know how Lehigh did it. I mean, I know how they did it. I watched the game, right? But it's one where it's like, but who's the standout? Jackson Brousseau has a really nice game, 29 of 40, 290 yards, pair of touchdowns. You look on the ground, Carson Gonzalez had a really good game, 117 yards. That's pretty stout on the ground. The receiving is very balanced. You think if you've got a quarterback who throws for nearly 300 yards, you're going to have a guy, right? Well, no one was over 90 yards receiving.
Right.
There's a lot of balance to that offense, and it's what has made this Lehigh offense so difficult all year long. Because we talked about, it's like they don't have a 1,000-yard rusher on the year. They don't have a receiver coming into the championship with more than 700 yards receiving. It's a bunch of guys with a really good quarterback, and Jackson Brousseau continues to show that he's undervalued and under-recruited. Period. Yeah. At half, he was 19 of 23.
And not just a bunch of dink and dunk throws
against
either.
a Timpview defense that has locked down 6A offenses and a bunch of 5As. 19 of 23 at the break.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, it's remarkable how good this young man is. Doesn't get phased, plays very calm within the offense, will take what defense give him. He doesn't force a lot. He tried to force a couple things today.
2 of them.
One got picked, and maybe another 1 or 2 that he was fortunate did not. But really, look, I mean, it was a team effort from Lehigh, and it was enough to get the job done.
I thought they played extremely well. I mean, they had to hang in there. Let's give the attaboys to Hilo Makasuga. 31 of 52 for 310 yards, a touchdown. Folks, he's 15 years old. He's in 9th grade. Actually, I don't know if he's turned 15 yet. He's in 9th grade. That's why I said that. Played great. Micah Beckstead. And this is why we talked about this. It's interesting because Beckstead has 131 yards rushing on the night in the loss. But and I think the story for us was Spencer Fano saying, yes, I am the number 4 rated tackle in the country. Yes, I haven't played defense. Yes, I will go in there and I will go play and play every down in the second half. And that's the kind of stuff you saw from Tim Few. It's just shocking to have won a state championship since 2014. It's their 3rd straight loss to the state championship game, I think it is, 3rd or 4th. And but those aren't the reasons why they lost.
Yeah.
Really what it was that Tim Few, or Lehigh outlasted them in overtime and made one more play. Than Tim Few did.
And honestly, like Tim Few can look at it a couple times and be like, man, we had a chance then. And we had a chance then. I mean, there's a chance for an interception, I think, in the second overtime. Yeah. That, like, you actually had a shot at a return to end it, right?
To the house. They had 2 of them, yeah.
Yeah. And so, and look, I loved what we saw from Tim Few, even in the loss, some of the way that coaching staff was handling the program and helping their young men keep heads up and bounce back through the adversity and from adversity. In the end, for me, Tim Few just ran out. You talk about Spencer Fano, right? And he's going on both sides of the ball. There were a lot of situations like that where it's like, look, Micah Beckstead, not healthy, came out of the game multiple times. Vea came out of the game multiple times. I mean, this was a war of attrition. Yep. And in the end, Lehigh just had a few more bodies, and that was really the difference in a triple overtime game that helped lift the Pioneers.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. And one more guy we give him a shout out to, and that is Esplin.
That guy had a big game.
For Tim Few.
Yep.
Esplin was spectacular. What the catch of the year, by the way. That was an amazing catch on that touchdown. And then, and I told you a moment, I saw during one of the overtimes, they all kind of blended together. But where Kasunga was on the bench, kind of just trying to compose himself, just watch Esplin be a leader. Yeah. Walks over, gets in front of him, kneels in front of him, and is like, hey, we got this. We're going to be fine. Just give him go pick up the young guy and say, I got you, man. You're who we need, because I thought that was an amazing moment. I want to make sure to shout that out.
10 catches, 120 yards for Jared Esplin. And the thing is, none of those were easy catches. No. I mean, half of those are 50-50 balls, and he's beating a DB to come away with it. Yeah. Impressive night for Esplin.
Last thing we want to talk about here for Lehigh is Bubba Terrell. Isaac Terrell. He's our reigning 5A Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
He's on the all-effort team. I'll tell you that much right now. That guy, when you talk about wrestlers are just a different breed, especially really good wrestlers. This dude has no quit.
Yeah.
There is no off switch to Isaac Terrell.
And the thing I loved is, and again, the first time I saw Lehigh this year was the semifinal. So I only saw him twice, semi and championship. I was surprised when I saw they moved him outside. Yeah. But man, you watch what he does and it's like, that's a brilliant move, right? Because you talk about a guy who's quick off the line of scrimmage and very athletic. Man, can use his leverage, can use his size, but can also now use his speed. And I thought that was a big key today against Micah Beckstead, because you talk about a running back for Tim Few, averaged over 10 yards a touch coming in, had 29 carries. Yeah. Against any other defense, that's 300 yards on the ground.
Right. On average.
Yeah. And he finished with 130, right? Which is still a big game for Micah.
Yeah.
But his average was cut in half. And when you go back and watch this game and you see how Micah, some of his stunts or he's coming around, I was having a conversation in the press box and was like, man, it doesn't feel like Micah's being as patient. It's like, well, he can't be, because Terrell's coming from behind. Like, he's got to hit a hole sooner. And then you're disrupting the timing of that offensive line to create those openings. And that really disrupted that running game early on. And it did put more on the young freshman. And Helaman stood up. But you talk about Isaac Terrell impacting the game. Yeah, he may not have had 6 sacks like he had a year ago, right? But his disruption inside, outside really caused Tim Few, I think, to shift their game plan away from their stud Micah Beckstead and helped Lehigh, this defense, to cause enough disruption to get a win.
And we will not be closing this out without talking about Cadian Sweat. Offer Cadian Sweat. He is so good.
Yeah.
Every time something happened, I almost made this comment on the broadcast. He had a punt at the end. He had a punt return that was like maybe 3 yards.
Yeah.
And I almost said, man, that's like the cleanup hitter kind of like grand slam, and they won't pitch him. They won't pitch to him. It was like the one the Jets knew he was going to do. Thought he was great. Helaman Katoa as well as another name got a shout out.
Hey, Cadian, see those helmets up there? They want you. You know it. You know it.
Come to Moscow. But congratulations, Ed Larson, back-to-back St. James.
First time since at least 1950, by the way.
And by the way, King Tanner, game-winning touchdown. Go watch that post-game interview. I don't shout out a lot of the stuff I do. That interview is amazing. I will have that clipped and put somewhere. But, So good. Just such a great moment. Your final thoughts on what we saw from the state championships?
Well, it's interesting because we said all year long that I thought the 5A, 6A were more open than in past years, and yet it was preseason number ones coming away with it.
Right.
They did get tested. And look, we saw a lot of great efforts. Man, just fun. Always fun to be up at the U. Always fun to see players rise to the occasion. Great battles. Oftentimes it feels like the semis are the better games. And I think today, maybe for the first time in a long time, it felt like both championships were better than the semis. Yep. I know last year we had an epic 6A championship. Yeah, 5A was good for Lehigh, right? It wasn't good for the other side. That game was kind of over early. This year, it felt like both championships were as good or better than the semis, and you don't get that very often. Yep. Feel very fortunate the year we had this year and the way it closed out.
It's such an absolute blast. Who would have thunk? When I talk about this, our first state championship, 2005. Was 3A, 4A, 5A.
Yeah.
Logan, Mountain Crest, Skyline. Folks, Lehigh was not overly great in 05.
No.
Lone Peak was not overly great in 05. That whole little corridor now.
Skyridge didn't exist. And
now the two largest classifications are from the same city.
Yeah.
Skyridge and Lehigh. Get the bowl going. But congratulations to Skyridge and Lehigh, the 2022 5A and 6A state championship. And look, first of all, I need to apologize to 4A, 3A, 2A, 1A fans. Look, I'm actually impressed. I had so many messages asking where are our videos. Dusty, I got sick. Okay, this is what happens when I run up and down the sidelines trying to do sideline reports, and Saturday morning we were supposed to shoot the video, and I was like, guys, I am not moving. And I had struggled all week long to get back to normal. So we did take care of that, though. Our pregame show, we know some of you may not have seen the pregame show, but Dane, we had a blast and got a chance to take care of this as well.
Yeah, we did. We brought in Brian Brown, Jeff Hansen to recap all the 1 through 4A games. Let's take you to our discussion from Rice-Eccles Stadium in our pregame show from Championship Week.
Let's not waste any time. Let's bring in a state champion, shall we? Let's bring in Rick Berry, the head coach of the Desert Hills Thunder. Rick, you and I have known each other for a long time. I got to apologize once again of not riding with the Thunder like I did in the preseason. I fell off the bandwagon, but you guys got it done. You're not holding that against me, are you?
Oh, absolutely not. No, you're good.
But, Coach, first of all, it's been a week removed. How good has this week been for you?
Oh, it's been awesome. I told my kids all through the playoff run that, you know what, these don't come around very often. So enjoy the ride. And more than anything, it builds memories, and enjoy that. I told them 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now, my gosh, they're going to still be talking about it to anybody that will listen. And to be honest, the more years that go on, the better it gets. And the stories, I'm sure, are going to get bigger and bigger.
Coach, it was a tough year for Desert Hills. You talk about all the adversity you guys went through with injuries and having to replace guys. Just talk us through how you kind of managed that and how you felt like the team did through all that, especially early season adversity. I think Noah kind of got dinged up early and kind of in and out of lineup. What was that like trying to balance that and keep this group focused on the ultimate goal?
Well, obviously that was our biggest challenge. It was real late in the last couple series up at Brighton when we went up there, where Noah got hurt. He was out 4 games, so we had to manage that, and we had some other injuries as well. Noah came back, and what a trooper. He's playing on a torn ACL, braced it up, came in, and, he's just a leader, and the kids respected that, and they got behind him, rallied behind him. And, Dusty and I were talking about this a little bit earlier. We really turned the corner when everybody decided and understood that we needed to play for each other and not individuals. And when that brotherhood came together and the family came together, that's when we turned the corner and really started to play well and reached our potential.
Coach, you've been in St. George for so long. You were a defensive coordinator, state championship for Coach Monkers at Dixie. Can you help people up north understand how big the football season is in St. George with all those schools right there and everything you got to go through? The coverage, I'll give you this. We like to say we give great coverage. We know what it's like down there for you, but can you give people an idea what it's like to be in St. George and to win as a football team down in that little town?
Well, this is a sports town. It doesn't matter if it's region, play, or what. The stands are packed. The best example I can give is, the highlights from the state tournament. Not only was it a sellout, but there was cars and people standing on the outside of the gates that couldn't get in. People were turned away. So that's just a testament to really the excitement and the passion and support we get in St. George for our sports.
Coach, I think you guys were preseason number one. A lot of expectations on Desert Hills, and then you go beat Brighton week 1. I think week 3, week 4, obviously not having Noah, a couple of injuries there. Did that maybe help take some of the pressure off, or was that really kind of with this group and you guys worked through that throughout region and the whole playoff run?
Yeah, I don't think there was really any pressure from the preseason rankings. We understand, the preseason has to come out and the media votes upon it. And we just kind of took that with a grain of salt and just said, you know what, we got to control our own destiny. We got to worry about region play. We got so many good teams and coaches down here. And then obviously, in Region 11. So we really weren't too concerned about what that happened. We just needed to make sure that we got our own identity and played within our own system.
Coach, I've got to ask you this. One of my favorite things I saw from this weekend, not only you winning, we've known each other for a long time, but the picture you posted with your boy. You got to coach him in a state championship game at Dixie and now have him on your staff. How sweet was that? Was that your sweetest moment other than hugging your sweet wife? I mean, that obviously wins, but when you get to have that moment with your son, too, how awesome is that?
Yeah, thank you. You covered my bases there. You got me out of trouble, so yes. No, it was awesome. It was a special experience when, Taylor and I were able to win a state championship together when he was playing, and then to have him on the staff and do that. And, I have a son with Down syndrome, and I think you saw the picture with Brett too. So, you throw myself and Brett and Taylor all in the mix in this picture this last week. And, yeah, it's really priceless. It was a great, fun experience and something we'll always remember.
Well, Coach, congratulations on winning the state championship. And as you know, certainly appreciate you and everything you've done. And we certainly congratulations. And thanks for joining us today.
All right. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Coach Rick Berry, the head coach of the 4A state champion Desert Hills Thunder. And guys, I love having these opportunities, and it's been a lot of fun to have this. And when we talk about the other schools we get in on this, let's talk a little 3A. We all went across the board in maroon. And Morgan, Brian, you got to feel pretty good. The Morgan Trojans emphatically taking home the 3A title over Juab.
Sometimes you have to see things to really believe in those things, and the opportunity that Dana and I had to see Morgan in person, to see not just the team itself, but the community support and the investment from the administration and everything like that. That program is something special, and they've continuously produced college level talent. It maybe hasn't spread all the way up to Utah, BYU, Utah State, but Snow College, SEU, guys are going from there all the time. And that team behind Nick Despain was truly special. They knew what their MO was. We're going to smash you in the mouth, we're going to play physical defense, and then we're going to let Nick manage the game. They had a ton of playmakers, Criddle, Salmon, I'm forgetting some names, but it was just loaded with talent, and they came out and they dominated the way that they feel like they should dominate every game.
And I thought the thing that was most shocking to me was they did what they've done all year. Yeah. Right? This wasn't a 35-21 game. We're going to 55-3 you, right? Or whatever it was.
Yeah, 55-3. Yep.
And it's just like, and by the way, that's going up against Alex Jackson, who I think had 52 touchdowns, passing touchdowns, and 3 interceptions going into that game, and they don't get a touchdown? And so, you talk about how good Morgan's offense is with Despain and company, and it is really, really good. But I think I made the statement last week, and to me, it's the exclamation mark that Morgan put on that said, our defense is probably the best defense in the state. Now, yeah, it wouldn't go and do that to a 6A team, but within a classification, it is by far and away the best unit for a respective classification, and there's the greatest distance between it and second place.
Right.
And I think that's true of this Morgan defense, because you hold Juab to 3 on a prolific offense in a state title game. There's no doubt. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
Here's my problem is that Morgan is my little slice of heaven. Like, people still don't know how great Morgan is. And the more we talk about Morgan and the more their football team does Morgan things, people are going to go to Morgan. And I'm just not ready for that to happen in my life.
It is the Boone, North Carolina of Utah high school athletics.
It's incredible.
I'll tell you, Friday night's 10 degrees cooler out there.
No, don't tell them that. It's 140 degrees until November, and then it's negative 10, and there's no in between.
That was the first place we did videos where I wore like a hoodie because I was like, this is cold to put my hoodie on. That was in the middle of September, folks. That wasn't the end of November or end of October. But yeah, congratulations to Morgan. And whenever we get up a chance to get up and see those schools, it makes it a little bit better. Dane and I got to spend the morning with those boys, and it just certainly adds a little something to it. All right, now two-way. Little Sienna Nilsson finishes her first football season undefeated with her San Juan Broncos. San Juan, welcome to the club. Back-to-back state champions, Dane. And maybe I shouldn't go Dane first, but yeah, I will. But, Dane was right. That wasn't even set up.
Penalty on the play.
I don't even know where that came from.
Rubbing it in on me.
How about rubbing it in? I was trying to go a little better.
Notice you have a different
All right.
today.
Yeah. Look, congratulations, San Juan. For me, I'll always roll with the Beavs, right?
Yeah.
But look, I mean, San Juan came out, sent notice early. I mean, they jumped on Beaver. Beaver made a good push in the second, get it closer, but just not enough offense. And I mean, we talk about this San Juan group. It's if I recall correctly from my notes, the first year they've gone undefeated back-to-back years. Just remarkable. And I don't know that anyone really saw. I did not see Parker Snyder being this good. Right? I was like, oh, they graduated their quarterback. They'll take a step back. No, they're going to go and score even more. Impressive year for San Juan. I will not say Broncos, but impressive year for San Juan.
Yeah.
Congratulations on the state championship.
I got to give love to Brian. Brian's been, I mean, you put San Juan in the top 25. You were singing San Juan praises all year long. Hey, how does it feel to be validated, big guy?
First time.
Yeah, it's a rare feeling.
But San Juan is one of those programs that kind of stands out when you look around the state because there is so much community support. It's like Morgan, right?
Yep.
And if people are sitting at home thinking like, there's a weird theme popping up. Yep, you're right. You go out and support your team. That team competes hard. They represent your community. They usually do great things. And Parker Snyder did great things this year. Barkley Christensen's done a phenomenal job getting that program rolling and continuing to build something special. They've got a really invested staff down there. Zach Conway is another one of those dudes that we do not talk about nearly enough. And again, a very recruitable athlete in this state. And you can see there on the handoff, he draws defenses in, allows Parker to sneak in for the touchdown. It's a versatile squad. They run a fun system. It's not like old school wing tee.
It's not old school San Juan. It's the new age San Juan.
Exactly, and that's what I think Coach Christensen has brought to the table. And it's a team that I had a lot of fun watching all year. They put up one of the greatest offensive shows and a half of football that I've ever seen the week before in the semifinals. Yeah, and I think it was 800 yards of offense and 98 points and a half.
Yeah.
So really phenomenal football team, a great program, community that's super invested, and that community loves San Juan football. They travel with the team, they show up, they show out, and you can see it in how they play on the field.
Yeah, as I mentioned, my niece taught at San Juan. Her husband's a seminary teacher. That's where I get there's my source. There's my inside source. Parker Snyder.
Tell people your sources.
We go into the season, and Brother Nielsen goes, "Do you think we're good last year? Wait till you see Parker Snyder." And I was like, "I'll trust you. You tell truth, Easton. You tell truth." Well, Uncle Dusty listened.
Trust but verify.
Yeah, really, really good. Really, really good at what they were able to accomplish.
Let me add one note, because Parker Snyder had a phenomenal year. I don't want to discredit that at all. But Zach Conway, because going into that championship, 168 carries, almost 1,500 yards. Almost 10 yards a touch. That sounds like a back we'll see this afternoon, right? And we never talked about Zach this year. It was always Snyder because the air attack, but Conway, he was special this year. Probably deserved a little more pump.
Yeah. Well, and Micah Beck says running behind an elite offensive line of guys that are 6'5", 300 pounds. That San Juan line is not quite that. Yeah. So huge credit to Coach Tad Barton, offensive line coach. It was a great. Yeah.
We are at the University of Zane Taylors aren't just running wild down the San Juan.
Not a lot of those down there, but they still compete hard, and it's a well-coached group, and they are really, really fun to watch. And Zach does a phenomenal job. He's a really impressive runner, and again, we talk about it. There is so much good football in this state, and I mean it. Corner to corner, top to bottom, side to side, wherever you go, there is good football in this state. And I think for me, that's the saddest part is I want to see more of it.
Right.
I want to get out and see more of these communities. I want to go to San Juan at some point. You know, I want to get down to Desert Hills.
Yeah.
I want to see more of this and interact with it. And it's just like, can we keep going?
Make it a little bigger.
I'm running out of time.
We can make it bigger. Now let's go to 1A and Layton Christian. Coach Stowers. I mean, first ever state championship in football in Layton Christian Academy history, and then emphatic win over my Cardiac Cowboys of Kidnap. But hey, Griffin Bowen had a spectacular year, but LCA got the nice long bus ride home in the championship.
Yeah, and really good for LCA. We talked about it. And LCA is kind of a unique school in the state. They get to bring people in from a lot of different places. And some are going to look at that and say, hey, what an advantage, right? But we talked about the job that coaching staff did. I mean, they're taking guys who have never played football before, and they turned this Layton Christian team this year into a powerhouse. I mean, they were dominating everybody that they played. It's the beginnings of a really, really good program. This wasn't just a really, really good team. It was. But this is the beginnings of a strong Layton Christian Academy program, and I think that's really exciting to see.
It is, and it's it's one that Coach Stowers took over in a weird transition season, and I think for a guy of his caliber, he came directly from the University of Utah, where he was working under Kyle Whittingham. For him to make that move, there had to be investment both on his end and on the administration's end. They've done that, and I think that gives Layton Christian Academy some flexibility in terms of what they're allowed to do as a staff, and that's part of why they can take guys from Germany and Portugal and American Samoa and wherever else these kids are coming from, teach them the fundamentals, and when it shows up on Friday nights, it looks beautiful. And they're losing a lot of kids this year, a lot of good players. Tavita Pame is the one that everybody points at. Frederick Foz, another one that does really good.
Beatrice
Moala, the running back, who's a really fun player to watch.
Malik Johnson.
Yep. Malik Johnson, who I think he's got like 10 offers from D2 and 1AA schools. So there's a lot of good football up there. The Ellis boys are up there. They're going to play for Coach Stowers, so you're going to see some more development from them. They've got things rolling, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with realignment and how they reclassify them, because I think this is a program that's done a lot in 2 years to earn that opportunity to play up.
Yeah. Dane?
Yeah, I mean, I think, this was really the group that we thought preseason was going to put it together and finally get that state championship for Layton Christian. They got a lot of monkeys off the back, right? They beat Duchesne, which had been a barrier for a long time. They finally get back to that state championship. They take care of business there. Beatrice Moala, B's up, baby. I mean, there's no commitment there, but come on, we all know you want to, right? Love watching this kid the last couple of years. And Malik Johnson, we've talked about him a lot. He had a monster game, couple receiving touchdowns in this one, tied for the state lead in interceptions as well. Big year, a lot of ballers at Layton Christian, and it's awesome to see some of these programs that just haven't had a lot of success and go capture that first state championship. I mean, you see some of the videos of them leaving town to make that drive and the police escort and coming back, and it's like, good for you guys.
Yeah.
That's what it's about, and changing cultures and programs and young men, and man, tip of the cap to Coach Stowers. What a job.
Brian was there. We had the inside man, but good on Layton City, by the way.
Yeah.
This isn't just the guys on the outside.
Private
put away. We're not going to talk about it. No. They brought him in the city council, gave him a great moment last night or this week. Thank you.
So much fun, an absolute blast. Thank you for watching all of our coverage. We'll be back with basketball here very, very soon. Go check out our award show videos. It is time for the awards. And by the way, a certain member of our team is helping out with the best award.
We got something new coming, so you're not going to want to miss that.
You won't want to miss it. It's going to be absolutely awesome. Go check out the awards videos, and thank you for all the support for Vince Francis and Dane Stewart. I'm Dusty Lister. Thanks for joining us and for watching KSL Sports Rewind, the championship recaps here on KSLSports.com.